Molecules or compounds contain carbon bound to hydrogen and possibly other elements. In addition to carbon and hydrogen, organic molecules often contain oxygen, carbon, and other elements. They often form rings or long chain-like structures. There are four major groups of biomolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleotides. So the body uses carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins for energy and as building blocks of cellular components. Nucleotides include DNA, which is important for carrying genetic information, and RNA, which acts as a messenger carrying instructions for DNA for controlling synthesis of proteins. Other types of nucleotides include ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is a molecule that's involved in energy transfer. Also cyclic AMP, which is an important signaling molecule. So here's a question: is CO2 organic or inorganic? And here's another question: is bicarbonate organic or inorganic? Okay, moving on. Carbon has 4 valence electrons. A valence electron is in the outer shell, electron shell. And so that it can participate in the formation of chemical bonds as long as this outer shell is not closed. So carbon has these 4 valence electrodes. It can make 4 covalent single bonds, and because of this, carbon can participate in making bonding to 4 different other atoms. So this allows for complex molecules to be formed by stringing together carbon atoms together in a straight line, or by connecting carbons together to form rings. The presence of nitrogen, oxygen, and other atoms adds variety to these carbon molecules. So life on Earth is based on carbon, and this is likely to be because of this property of carbon being able to make the 4 bonds. So this quality makes carbon very well suited to form these long chains, which serve the basis for life and these really large macro biomolecules such as proteins and DNA. So in science fiction, it's been speculated that perhaps life could be based on not carbon but on silicon. And the reason for this is that silicon is actually quite similar to carbon in that it also has 4 valence electrons. So the question is, why are there no silicon-based life forms on Earth? So think about that for a second. All right, so the explanation, or at least part of the explanation, is this: carbon can form functional groups with many other elements, including hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, metals such as iron, magnesium, and zinc. Silicon, on the other hand, interacts with only a few other types of atoms. Also, silicon atoms are much bigger, having a larger mass and atomic radius. It therefore has difficulty forming double bonds. In contrast, carbon has no trouble forming double bonds. And so double bonded carbon is part of a carbonyl group, a fundamental motif of biomolecules. Therefore, silicon cannot form the great variety of molecules that carbon can. So we believe this is why life is based on carbon and not silicon.